The Industrial Revolution was a period between the 18th and 20th century. Before this time period, people were forced to do everything by hand, such as assemble products and farm goods. People either had to walk, sail, or use animals to travel. In this time period, machines began to take the place of workers and animals. During the Industrial Revolution, all aspects of the way people went about doing their everyday tasks were completely changed. The cotton gin, invented by Eli Whitney in 1793, is an example. Eli Whitney's invention paved the way for the mass production of cotton. It automatically separated cottonseed from cotton fiber. This invention is one of many that defines the way we live our lives today. Automobiles are also another invention pioneered during the Industrial Revolution. Although this invention came along at the tail end of the revolution, it's one of the most influential.
The Industrial Revolution also had many effects on education. During the time period, children and women were forced to work up to 13 hours a day, earning only 1 shilling, compared to adult men who earned a more respectable 10 to 15. Literacy rates also started to drop. Children were hired to work in many factories because they were very cheap to hire, didn't know how to complain, and could reach into machines with their small hands. Many children were able to work in these factories because they were not in school. At the time, it was too expensive for most working-class families to send their child to school. The families allowed their child to work in these factories because of the extra money their family would be pulling in as a whole.
Because of this issue, a multitude of reforms were implemented due to social conditions between 1802 and 1878. These reforms focused mainly on limiting the amount of hours that children, women, and men were permitted to work. The Industrial Revolution is now part of history, and times have changed. We are now in a different world. Technology has advanced, but education hasn't as much as many would like. Right now, education is mainly based on standardized testing. Many people believe that our school systems need to change. Most are trying to teach students about jobs that are available right now. The flaw with that is that we don't know what jobs will be available in the future. Children should not be educated according to professions available now. Although hard to predict, children should be educated in what professions might be an option 15 years from now.
We now find ourselves in a new revolution, the digital revolution. Modern digital technology started to greatly advance with the invention of the digital computer in 1936. Since then, many revisions have been made to the digital computer. A major invention in the history of the digital computer was the transistor, invented in 1948. During this time, education had reached its peak in development. Computers were still large and bulky and were not commercially available as they are today. The transistor allowed computers to become much smaller. By 1960, all computers used the transistor. As time went on, digital technology became more and more advanced. Computers got smaller and no longer filled an entire room.
An enormous leap in the digital revolution occurred in the late 20th century, when computers began to be available to the general public. This revolution also introduced the Internet.
The Internet has become a major resource and learning tool for many students. According to a recent study conducted by the Pew Research Center, 29% of the general public believe that online courses have the same value as traditional courses. 51% of college presidents believe they offer the same value.
When using the Internet as a research tool, it's important to avoid plagiarism. According to the same study, 55% of college presidents believe that plagiarism has increased over the past 10 years. 89% of the presidents who believe that there has been an increase also believe that the Internet is to blame.
The digital revolution has brought many inventions that we believe could greatly enhance a student's education. However, most people aren't reacting and making the necessary changes to ready our country's children for a changing world. Here is an RSA anime clip explaining the reformation of education. The clip is narrated by Sir Ken Robinson, an internationally recognized leader in the development of education.
I believe we have a system of education that is modelled on the interests of industrialism and in the image of it. I'll give you a couple of examples. Schools are still pretty much organised on factory lines, ringing bells, separate facilities, specialised into separate subjects. We still educate children by batches. You know, we put them through the system by age group. Why do we do that? You know, why is there this assumption that the most important thing kids have in common is how old they are? You know, it's like the most important thing about them is their date of manufacture. You know what I mean? Well, I know kids who are much better than other kids at the same age in different disciplines, you know, or at different times of the day, or better in smaller groups than in large groups, or sometimes they want to be on their own. If you're interested in the model of learning, you don't start from this production line mentality. It's essentially about conformity, and increasingly it's about that as you look at the growth of standardized testing and standardized curricula. And it's about standardization. I believe we've got to go in the exact opposite direction. That's what I mean about changing the paradigm.
Many children are being distanced from education by these old methods. Students are organized by groups of age. Why age? Why don't children start off by being placed according to their interests and capabilities? People around the world are asking questions like this. How can we change education? How can we educate our children to prepare them for the future? The old methods that have been in use for years are starting to show their age. While the methods may work for some, most people don't respond well to the current model of education. To children, much of the material they learn seems boring. If we want to reform education, we need to find new methods that work for everyone. We need new methods that take advantage of today's technology.
In our opinion, there is extreme potential in using modern technology to educate children. The possibilities are truly endless.